I guess we can just go ahead and introduce how we got into the series, just to start it off.
Yeah.
Choco, you want to start?
Yeah, season 1 came out, all the hype. I watched it when I was in, grade 7. I bought all the available manga I could at Chapters, and then unfortunately I kind of not lost interest with it, but with season 2 being delayed for such a long time, I just kind of forgot about it until about season 3 started getting picked up, and that's when I got back into it. And I'm disappointed that I spent so many years caring about it.
That's sad.
That's not good, man.
All right, Gail.
Yeah, I have a similar sort of history as Choco. Started with season 1 initially, didn't really enjoy it because of the pacing issues that Wit Studio had. At the time, it was obviously their first production, as we were just discussing this prior to starting. And never really found interest in it. And then, I had a lot of friends who were telling me continuously, watch AOT, watch AOT. A lot of streamer friends as well who said the same thing. Kind of, got peer pressured into it finally once I think season 3 part 2 just was wrapping up, and I binged through season 1 and 2 again at the same time. Loved it a lot more at that time because season 2 really changed my opinions on it, and then season 3 was an absolute banger.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, since then been really enjoyed it, and then started reading the manga over the last couple of months. And then now I feel like I wasted a lot of time, but at the same time, I still really enjoyed the series as a whole. I think I don't regret the time I spent initially, but the ending does leave a bit of a sour taste.
All right, and Alex, you're the one with the most history here.
Well, yeah. Well, I actually think quite a lot of us got into it during season 1.
Oh, really?
And,
so y'all just got to season 1.
Yeah, well, and the funny thing is, I actually got into it when I was, on holiday, and, I was just, doing holiday shit, and then, basically we were staying in a villa, so, we were basically staying, a different family or whatever, and, one of the kids that lived there was like, oh, you should watch this Attack on Titan anime, and at first I thought it was going to be, some Gundam, and then, I watched And then I watched the first episode, and it, I was hooked. I was actually hooked, and it was just insane to me because I just didn't expect to get that hook straight away,
Mm-hmm. I hear the construction in the background.
Even after there was a massive gap between season 1 and 2, I was still really invested in it, and I was just constantly waiting for it to come out.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I didn't pick up the manga. But because I don't know, I had something against manga back then, but it was just a series that I always kept close to me, and the fact that I always saw it consistently get better, just for it to end like this is the biggest disappointment.
So I hear you have some construction going on in the background there.
Yeah, I'll mute myself.
Alright, so I guess I'll go ahead and do my introduction to we start getting into the meat and potatoes. So I started with season 1 pretty much like everyone else here, and way back in high school. It's been so long at this point. But I was started with season 1, and then I was attached to the story. I kind of just forgot about it before season 2 came out. And then when season 2 came out, I was super hyped. I was losing my mind. And then season 2 is still my favorite season to this day, I think. And so I watched season 2, and then I got to a part where I would say Historia. I forgot exactly what happened. It's something with Historia, and I was I can't wait for the next episode. So I started reading the next couple of chapters of the manga, and then I let season 2 finish, and then I didn't really get fully into the manga until the ending of season 3ish. So once season 3ish came out, I started reading the manga, and then I pretty much would wait probably 4 or 5 chapters to catch up to it, and then last year or the year before is when I really just completely caught up to everything, and just stayed caught up for the most part, and it's just kind of sad investing 8 years of your life into a series just for the end to kind of be this disappointment. But I'm not going to starve myself like I've seen some people talking about on Twitter, and they haven't eaten for 3 days and stuff like that. But I was very sad when I saw the ending. But overall, I still enjoyed the series. I could go back and rewatch seasons 1 through I'll probably watch 4 when it's finished. But it's still overall enjoyed the series. I'd probably give it 7 out of 10 overall since the ending was just so bad. But yeah, so I guess that's pretty much our introduction to it. So let's go ahead who wants to start this off?
Alright, Flock, dude.
Oh my
I
God.
refuse to believe that could ever happen. Gaming Clock, please. I need you to explain to me, how did Flock's death make any sense whatsoever? For him to get into that hangar, coming through the side door. I need to know.
Well, to be honest, like I don't necessarily have that big of an issue with that. I actually think he had a good death, especially when you compare it to like some of the shit that we got in the more recent chapters. Like, I think Flock is probably one of the most overlooked characters post time skip, just because of how much of an he is. But he genuinely has a consistent arc from start to finish.
Oh yeah, it's not his arc, it's just how he got.
Yeah,
He
I'll
somehow
get that
got
for
onto the
sure.
boat. There was a mini time skip. He was under the covers of the boat. He wasn't found. And I looked at the manga. He came in through the side door, so he was let in through the kind of dock. He would have had to leave and go out the front door to come in the side door.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
understand how that could have happened. And that and Levi are my two lowest.
Oh,
points
dude,
of the
yeah.
Levi.
even more so than the ending, because that makes no sense to me. How
I
Flock managed
actually
to do
think,
that.
yeah, you know, like to talk about that. I think the major issue with Hanji'S Death is the build up to it, like what led to it, and
Mhm.
it's what you mentioned about the Flock stuff, which is a shame because I think the death itself is executed well and it's perfect for Hanji, but it's just the stuff leading up to it that doesn't seem as believable.
Yeah, so like my biggest issues is I didn't like Hanji's death. I feel like it was just kind of like, oh, let me kill a character now, boom, there it goes. And then Flock just felt like it was just kind of out of nowhere. He pretty much had like a mainly off-screen death. And my biggest issue with the series, which I hate that is my biggest issue with the series, because he's my third favorite character. Why the f is Levi alive? Like he should have been dead, like ass blasted when that happened to him.
I remember because I was still in between reading the manga while the season was going on, and the moment I saw Levi just getting blown up, or quote unquote blown up, I immediately told Troko, like, how is he still alive or no? Because how this guy should have been dead. And the moment I read the manga, he said go read the manga, of course, and then I read the manga and I was like, how is this guy alive? Like, he should have died then. He should have been gone.
The horse behind him
no
caught on
way.
fire and burnt to death.
And the explosion he
There's
got
no way that guy should have been alive, man.
and the explosion he got hit with is the explosion that could take the armor off of the armor titan and pretty much would kill any normal titan. And like the only explanation I ever get is, oh, Ackerman powers, was like, I don't buy that, dude. Like, I don't care if Ackerman powers or anything. It's like when you're in that type of situation, I don't care what kind of powers you have, you should be dead. But it's something that could kill Reiner in his titan form, you should be dead yourself.
I mean, at this point, I believe just Ackerman power is plot armor. At this rate, I feel like both Mikasa and Levi just have plot armor overall. Like,
No, I
it's
think
ridiculous.
I think after that explosion, he should have. I don't know. His legs should have been paralyzed or something, at least.
Yeah, he should at least been completely immobile. But like, no, like a couple chapters later, he's springing around and he's the ODM gear or whatever, right?
Yeah, I
Which-
think he made the Thunder Spears like really inconsistent at some point.
Yeah. And then one of my other big issues is Annie's character. She went from like just being the badass, independent female character to just completely like ooh armored f- me, pretty much. And then like the main build up for it was off screen with like the crystal stuff, which I could take that. But then when it gets to like the final chapter, it's just like just like the whole situation, the final chapter is like, bro, what the f- this is not Annie. Like this is not the Annie I love.
You know, a lot of people give Annie shit, but I actually think she's quite an interesting character because, like, in this world of Attack on Titan, where you have so many characters that have like crazy goals, like, oh, saving the world, blah blah blah. Annie just felt very realistic to me and grounded because, like, her goal was simply to get back to her dad, and it just made her stand out from the rest. And even when she came back in 124, the following chapter spoke about her backstory and how she's basically adopted. And, despite the entire world being destroyed and despite everything that she's done, she would do it again just to get back to her dad. And I think I don't know, to me, in such a grand series, like I said, where there's so many, big motivations, I just really like that about her. So the fact that it didn't really go anywhere sucks,
Yeah, it's just like it pissed me off so much because like you already know when the whole like Armin Annie stuff started happening in the manga, I messaged you. I was like, dude, what the f- is this? Why is this happening?
Yeah.
And then,
I
like
don't-
you like explained
Yeah.
it to me, like gave me like a reasoning for it. I was like, okay, I guess I guess I'll accept it, right? Because it makes sense. But the final chapter is like, like they just destroyed her for me.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I genuinely didn't have that much of an issue with the romance, because I do think it makes sense, even though it could have been hinted at a bit more. But the fact that that's kind of what her character became at the end, I don't know. I just didn't like it, to be honest.
Yeah.
And
real quick,
one thing that I really enjoyed. Sorry to interrupt you, but one thing that I really enjoyed about 138 is that she was finally going to meet her dad, and it was tragic because he turned into a Titan, right? So, I kind of like that development, because like this is a goal that she was working towards, like basically her entire life ever since coming on Paradise, and then she didn't even get to hug him. He ended up turning into a Titan. And the next chapter, guess what, guys? It was just a fake out. She's gonna be with her dad anyway.
Yeah.
It feels so cheap, man.
So how do you feel about Path after like the ending? Because I feel like when it first started, it was really cool, but I feel like he kind of just used it as like just a BS reason to explain everything.
I mean, to be honest, I think before like the final five chapters, I think the path stuff was like perfect, and it was only used for like the big moments. But after that, he just kind of used it as a justification for everything.
Yeah. But I remember you in particular, you had like a whole graph for it. You wrote like an entire essay on Twitter explaining it.
I saw people complaining about some of the stuff in the recent chapters, and I was just like my brain was just working to try to make sense of this, and I was looking forward to making a thread on all of this stuff. But after this chapter, I'm just like, I don't even care anymore. Like, I don't want to do this because it doesn't even mean anything anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How do
I
you feel
think
about the heaven part of Paz being used just to give a happy ending and no other real reason for it?
Oh man, this is related to past, but like one of my biggest issues by far with this ending has to be how he treated racism, like the oppression of the Eldians and all that. Like he's basically saying that if you get rid of the cause, like that's just gonna fix racism. Like, I guess the main reason he's trying to say is that, oh, okay, the Titan powers are the main reason why you're oppressed and why there's racism against you. So if you get rid of that, people aren't going to be racist towards you anymore. And like, do you see what kind of message that sends? It's like, okay, if you stop being yourself, then people will stop being racist against you. And like, Attack on Titan has had a lot of regarding, racism, all that stuff. It's been accused of being Nazi propaganda and all that. And during the RTS, Marley, even War for Paradise, he treated these heavy themes with such care and nuance, and the fact that he just completely brushed over all of it in 12 pages just doesn't sound right to me. I don't know. All of it just really boggles my mind because this manga, how do I put it? Like, this manga, I think, allowed a lot of minorities to, I guess, not relate, but it allowed them to appreciate this aspect of the manga because it's something that they could see paralleled in real life. So the fact that it was treated so carelessly, when before he treated it with such care, I think it's pretty disrespectful to the people that have been following the series for so long. And it's such a complex and nuanced subject and sensitive. So the fact that he didn't give it as much care as he could have, it completely boggles my mind. It's just a complete mistreatment of like what he was trying to say in the previous arcs.
Alright, so I know people have mentioned this a couple times, but we already know that this was not his original ending. Wasn't this like the third ending he came up with? Like, he had one that was like the one he had from the beginning. He was planned. Did he kind of change it a second time? And then he's like, you know what? This will be the ending I'll go with. It was something like that, right?
Yeah, I think it was like the original. It was supposed to be one ending, then he decided to change it again. And then recently, I think he said like, yeah, because of like how much popularity it's gained or something like that. Something along those lines from what I remember. He said that he wanted to change it again, which is what we got basically.
Which I think is part of the issue, because like he was writing from the get go for like going from point A to point B, and then he just kind of had, okay, let's go to point C, and then he's like, know what, fuck it, let's go to point D now. And I think that's kind of like one of the issues that happened, because I feel like if you'd have kept like maybe the point A ending, or it might have been like a lot better, because I feel like because that's what he's working up to the whole time. And like that's one of the things with this chapter is like this whole ending just feels like it was very last minute, which I mean obviously was the case. It's just like there's so much stuff that just didn't get answered, and the stuff that get answered is just like why, like why is this the answer? That there's a lot of just like this entire last chapter contradicts so much in like the last 100 or so chapters that have been in the series. It's like it just created more issues than it solved.
Like one of the things that really puts me off is what he did with the Ymir and King Fritz stuff.
Oh god.
Like the entire series is the entire series is basically okay. The Titans and the oppression exist because Ymir loved King Fritz, and it carried on for 2,000 years because she was waiting for Mikasa to kill Eren. But that's basically what it is. Like
Yeah.
I don't like, honestly, man. It just makes me so mad because it's just all been like reduced to such a stupid thing.
The biggest problem I have with that whole Ymir Fritz situation is like it literally contradicts what 135 was. Like 135, 136, when Ymir and Eren were meeting, and Eren was like, "You're like me" and everything, and you know, it was supposed to be that, but Mikasa just came out of nowhere into that situation and was like, "Oh, I know that people are talking about this sort of." I don't want to call it headcanon because it depends on people's perspective. That's the biggest problem I have with this being such an open ending, is that it brings in so many different people's analysis that you're going to contradict with somebody else immediately, or you know, you're going to have a different perspective compared to somebody else already, which especially for such a complex series and, you know, complex characters, complex ideas, it just doesn't necessarily work well. And it's like some people were saying like, oh, it's because, you know, Ymir wanted to see Mikasa accept her love for Eren or something like that, and that's the reason why she's waiting 2,000 years so she could see it herself. And I'm just there like, that directly contradicts what happened in 135. Just doesn't make any sense personally. Like, it's so, why are you romanticizing this whole series? Because that was not what the intention was ever. Like, there was no aspect of the series that said that romance was going to solve this issue or anything, and it just came out of nowhere and was like, okay. Because at the end of the day, I think I can say this for all of us here, we didn't want a happy or sad ending. Whatever the ending was, be the ending. It just needed to neatly tie up all the loose ends, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest issue, because people are saying, oh, you wanted a happy ending, oh, you wanted a sad ending. No, we just wanted a neat and tidy ending, and that's not what we got, quite literally.
Okay, real quick, I want to address something in chat.
Yeah, go on.
Someone said, but I mean, after chapter 138, I don't get how people expect that every question be answered in one last chapter. That was part of the issue. Like, once chapter 120, I mean, whatever, 138 dropped, and we knew the next chapter is the last chapter, I literally told Turbo, this ending's going to be awful. Like there's no way. Like, we all knew, like, there's no way he's going to be able to tie everything up. Like, he was just kind of backed in the corner at that point.
And that's part of the issue of his whole thing of saying, like, I want to end it on 139. I mean, it could be something from the production committee side or the editor's side saying, like, oh, you need to finish this off. Or I think it's Kodansha who's the publishers, right? They must have said, like, oh, we need it to be done 139 and whatnot. And that's a problem. I don't know whose fault is it. Is it Isayama who said he wanted to end it on 139? Is it Kodansha who said they want to end it there? Whoever it was. That's a problem from their end, but we can also criticize it for doing that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a problem. That is a negative. Sorry, we've been interrupting you, Alex. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, it's okay. Like, I was just saying, like, in regards to Ymir, and like, I think it was chapter 137. We got more, I guess, more characterization about her, and we kind of learned that one of the reasons why she stayed, so basically we got one motivation in 137, and then 139 completely contradicts that. But basically, in 137, we're told that well, it's implied that the reason why Ymir is still in the past is because she can't let go. Well, it's because she yearned for something in the real world that she couldn't reach when she was still alive. And I think that thing was love and like connection of people. And then and the reason why she created the paths is because that's what she wanted, because the paths connects every single subject of Ymir to her, so she obviously wanted that connection, she wanted that love. And then in 139 it completely contradicts that, and it tells us, oh no, actually Ymir loved King Fritz all along. So it makes me question Isayama's decision to say that she yearned for something that she couldn't reach in the real world, you know?
Mhm.
And like, it's such an interesting concept because her desire for human connection and love could have played into the ending, but instead it's just been reduced to this romantic stuff that was never implied to begin with.
So,
I mean, another thing,
yeah.
quick question I have. I'm a bit confused about the whole Mikasa situation as well. In 138, the whole memory thing she had with Eren, or whatever it was, I assume it was a memory, like a repressed memory, where she stayed with Eren for 3 years, right? How is it possible that her memories
Yeah.
were erased, considering she's an Ackerman and an Asian? Shouldn't she be
Yeah, they
immune to that
can't.
sort of stuff?
Yeah, she should.
Wait, so then
Hey, what is that all about, by the way? Is
I'm
it real?
so
Is that a
baffled.
dream?
Okay.
No. Okay, so that was kind of like what happened with, from what I gather, it's kind of like what happened with Armin in the last chapter, where Eren like literally just was like, you know what, I want to stay with Mikasa for like 3 years, and then I'll erase your memory, and then when I die, you'll get the memories back again, kind of thing. But the problem is, how are her memories repressed because she's a Ackerman and an Asian?
Yeah, it doesn't make it.
That's such a weird addition to add for no
Because-
reason. Yeah, we actually lived together for 3 years, by the way.
Yeah, that whole thing was so stupid.
No, because no, because like what do you, because literally in this chapter she's
You're dying, Alex.
oh okay yeah, but I think it was Armin and Mikasa basically said that they got the memories back this chapter, and it's like what happened to Ackerman's not being able to, like, they weren't able to be influenced memory wise.
So while we're talking about
Insane,
this, Alex, you still there? Because I know this is your favorite
Yeah,
topic. Okay, talk about Eren. I know that's your favorite part of this chapter. You love it.
oh my god. Like, I know some people think that we're overreacting, but this is like, to me, this is like a character assassination of the highest degree. Like, his death didn't even make me sad. What made me sad was, like, what the happened to his character. Oh, bro. And the thing is, it's not even, like, this isn't even a bad path for Eren. It's just the way that it was done that's so fucking bad.
Okay, I'm going back and checking 138. She does remember it. Okay, so that's fair. Okay, she remembered it all this time, but the fact that she didn't do anything to contradict it is like she just let it go. She was just like, yeah, I'll let it be.
Wait, remembered
Which-
what?
She apparently, in 138, I'm seeing it, she literally said, I'm sorry, I can't forget you. So that insinuates, I guess, she remembered the time she had with Eren, but then why didn't she do anything
No,
to
no, I don't think that's what she's saying. It's because, like, from the start of the series, even
yeah.
I think it was chapter 126 or 125. Louise, the girl that follows her around or whatever,
Yeah.
she says that that Eren wanted Louise to get rid of Mikasa's scarf,
Yeah.
and then in 138 he says, "Forget about me." So I think it's just to do with Eren wanting Mikasa to forget about him. I don't think it's anything to do with the memory. I think Eren literally just wants Mikasa to forget about him, and when she says I can't, it's because she doesn't want to forget about him.
Mm-hmm. It's a bit odd. Okay.
Yeah,
let's-
that entire dream sequence is just
Yeah.
odd.
All right. So I know people are talking about this in chat. Why do you think it's a problem seeing season 1 Eren and the current chapter Eren? Because I have problems with it, but I want to know why you guys have problems with it.
With what? Sorry.
seeing old Eren in this new Eren, basically this development we've seen in Eren, and then reverting back to season 1 Eren, basically for the final chapter.
He pulled a Dragon Ball Super Vegeta character regression, pretty much.
Wait, are we talking about like Eren literally appearing as a kid in this trial?
No. I think his
chapter.
personality. No, his personality, like him regressing back to his older personalities instead.
I think, I think it's just the way that it was done, like the dialogue, because like everyone knows that Eren is an emotional kid. There is no denying that.
Yeah.
And to an extent, he did put on a front, especially around his friends. But one of the things that I really liked about his character is that all of the emotional trauma, from seeing the future memories and all of that, like finally caught up to him, and it was like slowly turning him into this person that he became. And like the way that the dialogue was done, and like it was just, it just felt so unnatural to me, because it just felt like it came out of nowhere. Like no one is denying that Eren is this emotional kid, but if you look at chapters like 131, we see like it's one of the best chapters in the series for me. Like we see him like crying and breaking down in front of this kid, and people love it because it makes sense and it's in line with his character. But then we see him, acting like this over Mikasa when he's never shown to have this super reliance on her, and it just feels odd. All I'm gonna say, like, no one cares that Eren is emotional. People love that side of him. After seeing him like this for so long, like we've seen him have this dead face for so long and just being depressed and all of that. So seeing him cry in 130, like 131 rather, like people love that. Like literally, no one complains about Eren crying in 131. People love it. It's in line with his character. It elevates his character to an entirely new level. But like the dialogue and just the way it was done in this chapter, just I don't think many people like it.
I think my biggest problem is that I don't mind the emotional side either. My biggest problem is that we've seen Eren mature from the kid he was to the point he is now. There's no problem with the 19-year-old being emotional or being in love or whatever it may be. That's completely fine. But the problem is the way you do it. And the way they did it just didn't feel like there was any progression made from that original character. There has to be some degree of progression, and I never felt that in that chapter at all, to be honest. And that's my biggest problem. Him reverting back to his original self was kind of slightly jarring. It's not my biggest problem. It's a slight problem, but it just doesn't feel great the way they did it.
Yeah, it doesn't feel very natural, and it's like I said, it just feels very out of nowhere, especially because of what I said about, like, he never showed to have this massive reliance on Mikasa. Like, if anything, he like constantly pushed her away. So for it to like flip like this, it just feels very jarring, I guess. It feels very uncharacteristic. Like, I would have loved if he showed his feelings for Mikasa in like a more subtle way, if that makes sense. And it's like I said, like so many of these ideas make complete sense, but they just needed to be built up.
I feel like if he had like another maybe 3 or 4 chapters or something like that, it probably would have been a lot better.
I think that's the biggest thing is it's just an extra 2-3 chapters, and it probably could have been a whole lot better and probably cleared up a lot more.
Right, and the thing is, people act like time skip Eren doesn't show any feelings when he literally does. People think that.
Oh no, he does. Yeah.
People think that being emotional means being like acting like he did in the chapter, like a brat. Like that's what people think being emotional is. Like post time skip, he showed like even in Justice's facial expressions, we've seen him being sad, angry. We've seen his conviction. Like those are all emotions. Like emotions doesn't like. It isn't just being what Eren was in this chapter.
Yeah. No, I mean, we've seen it as well, but the whole Eren Ymir conversation, that was him being, I know how you feel and everything. He was actually being emotional in that point, and as you said, 131. There's so many moments he has been emotional. It's just the way he was in this, it just doesn't make that much sense in my personal opinion.
Yeah, and what people say that he was just putting a front on this entire time, and it goes back to what I was saying before. Like the reason why that annoys me is because it just kind of disregards his trauma. Like, he became this person because of his trauma. So, like, was he just pretending the entire time? Was he just acting the entire time? Like, he's a pretty damn good actor, if that's the case.
My man
Yeah.
deserves an Oscar, bro. Straight up.
Alright, so someone said, but I'm sure most people thought Eren and Mikasa liked each other. I was always under the impression it was just never touched on. That's pretty much the issue I have with it. Like, we all kind of just had, like, an idea, like, they kind of did, maybe, possibly. But, like, it was never really, like, touched on enough to, like, warrant how the last chapter went with them. That's just how I look at it. Like, I feel like it's kind of like my issue with Annie and Armin. It's like, if they touched on it a little bit more, I feel like I would have been perfectly fine with it. It just felt like there wasn't enough build-up to it.
Wait, someone said, what did he do that was brat? Like, crying because he doesn't want to lose Mikasa. The guy's 19. How many people have their emotions together at 19? Like, I don't... Like, I get what you're saying, but the issue with Eren, like I said, is that he's never shown to have this over-reliance on Mikasa. If anything, he's constantly pushed her away, which is why it's very jarring. Like, I don't deny that he might have some sort of feelings for Mikasa. It's just the way it was done, you know?
I think it also doesn't help that the ending pushed Mikasa to be the one, and you can make an argument, I suppose, that that's the reason why, so that Mikasa wouldn't have an over-reliance on Eren instead, maybe, and hence why Eren pushed her away so that Mikasa could become independent from him, I suppose, is the best way to put it. But even then, that brings back to the problem is, why is Mikasa all of a sudden the one? Like, like, there's a lot of these issues that just connect to each other, and then it just, yeah, that's
Go back to how did he constantly push her away? Go back to season 1.
Yeah, did you just not watch Attack on Titan?
Yeah.
what
Every
was the
episode, he was pushing
the
her
table?
away.
What about the table scene? I mean, that's the literal last example of her pushing him away, pushing her away. Obviously, to get to this point, of course, but it's always been the case, literally.
You know, if you go back to season 1, like, he hated the fact that Mikasa was always, like, treating him like a baby. Like he always felt like Mikasa babied him. Like, that's where he was pushing her away.
Literally,
Like, he
their
never
first
wanted to have this
interaction
over-reliance on her.
is
That's
him
why.
pushing her away.
Huh?
Their first interaction in the entire series is Eren trying to push her away.
Yeah, like, he did literally, like, push her, obviously, but, like, when Mikasa, like, one of the things about Eren's character is that he always felt weak. He felt jealous of Mikasa because, like, Mikasa to him was someone, like, he saw Mikasa's willingness to help him as something due to his weakness. Like, she was helping me because I'm weak. That's how Eren saw it as. So he pushed her away during these moments, and that's why I'm saying that he didn't want to have this over-reliance on her. But 139 suggests the opposite, and there was like nothing recently to suggest that.
What do you guys think about the whole 3-year gap and the war still not technically being over?
I think it's actually the worst thing Attack on Titan has done. The way they made, like, oh yeah, everyone's old friends now, you know, Levi and Annie, yeah, they just hang around with the same group of people. You know, there's always a little bit of spicy drama in that friend group, but yeah, they're the greatest of friends, you know?
Does
Just ignore when Annie twirled a guy like a yo-yo.
Does anyone mention how Zeke's death was pretty much pointless thanks to this chapter?
Oh my god.
Oh, yeah.
I feel so bad for Zeke. Zeke was like, my G is gonna actually pull it off. He's gonna do it. He's actually gonna just, you know, get it done. And then he's probably looking up from like heaven or whatever it is and just looking down on him, Eren, and being like, you little dumbass.
Bitch.
You failed me yet again. What a surprise. But no, I'm the thing is, I wouldn't have been too mad about it until you realize 80% of the world is dead, and it's like, why is there still so much time between what's happening and the negotiations? And they're still negotiating 3 years later. Like, if you even look at current modern era wars in real life, the maximum time it's taken has been maybe 2 years for everything to be done. No negotiations and everything. 1945 to 1947 was when the conferences took place, and 1947 is when the treaty finally took place for the end of the Second World War. How is it possible that it's still 3 years, they're still negotiating, and there's nothing come out of it?
Oh well, you know, someone did the maths, and you know, he said that Eren destroyed like what 80% of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's what like 1 million people on Paradis, and there's like 400 million in the outside world. So, like, how much of the issue did they actually solve? Because 400 million is quite a lot.
So Alex, what's
Also,
your
they don't
thoughts
have
on the?
guns.
What's your thoughts
Huh?
on Zeke's death pretty much being pointless?
I don't even know, man. I don't even think about it, to be honest.
I mean, who cares?
Alright, so Historia was like tied for my favorite character at one point. She's super badass, and like her whole entire story and plot was really sick. And he just completely forgot about her for like 40 chapters.
Yeah, I don't understand what he was trying. Like, it felt like he was building up to something big, but he just didn't really get anywhere.
Yeah, it was so. This is so
No, because
disappointing.
what someone did was I think they took the population from you know, our world, and like compared it to like the time period that Attack on Titan was set in. So which is like 2 billion people, and they just did the math from there.
Historia's meaningless
Pretty
after
much.
chapter 90? Yeah, pretty much. Historia
Alex,
badass
how did
question
you,
mark? I mean, yes, Historia killed her own dad.
Yeah, what really frustrated me about the Historia stuff is that there was like so much, like, I guess, see, I don't know if Isayama was trying to bait us now, or if there was actually supposed to be something there. Because, you know, there's this farmer guy who she didn't even marry, and then we get all this weird stuff in 130 that's suggesting that there might be some more to it. And then in this chapter, a few years later, oh look, they're happily married. So, like, I'm trying to understand why he presented a relationship, you know, the relationship between a farmer and Historia as something that was tragic, you know?
But
I don't-
Alex, how did you feel about, you know, Levi and Annie probably being in the same room together? Because if she's gonna be hanging out with like Armin and, you know, Connie, you know Levi's gonna be keeping up with them. How does that work? She swung that guy like a yo-yo. She crushed Petra's back like that. How does that make any sense that Levi's just like, all right, I guess we're just doing this
Well,
for any
like,
of them to be?
the way that I always thought of it is that what do you call it? The only thing that, like, the way that I thought of it is that because Levi kind of knows what it's like to grow up with, you know, a ton of hardships as a child, so I think Levi is a very sympathetic character. So
Yeah,
after,
but I think there's a difference between being forced to be a child soldier and cruelty, like swinging that guy like a yo-yo.
yeah, well, to be fair, he didn't see that, but
Yeah, she probably just won't mention that.
yeah, but yeah, I get what you're saying. I wish we got like at least some sort of conversation between them, but I just didn't think that was that big of a deal, because I think once the people on the island, or at least the Survey Corps, found out about the situations of Annie, Ryan, and Bert, they were like, oh, okay, you know, fair enough. Obviously, it doesn't forgive what they've done, but you can understand why they did those things. And
Okay.
you know, I think Levi of all people would have, like,
Even
obviously
still, like,
he's still
when-
saddened by the death of his
Mhm.
comrades, obviously, but he could have, I guess, forgiven it to an extent.
Remember Reiner just stabbed that guy in the wall when they were like tapping it?
Yeah.
He didn't have to stab that guy. They
Yeah.
just killed some people for no reason. And now Reiner's just smelling her letter. And
Oh,
Jean's like,
bro.
Oh my
no,
God.
Reiner, dude.
That
That
part
was
was
too
so
good.
You
weird.
actually murdered that guy. You did not have to do that. You could have kicked him, you could have transformed. You didn't actually have to kill anyone there. It would have been their choice to come to you after you transformed. That guy had no warning whatsoever. He was just stabbed in the chest and you just dipped. Like, after all that happened, and Reiner was like, what, probably 16 around that time, or 15, something like that, I think, when that happened?
I think he was 17.
17.
Actually.
So,
Yeah.
you're still forced into doing that, but you...
Levi's
So-
killed so many of his comrades. I think you'll understand.
Well, I think the issue is that what do you call it? I think the issue is kind of that at that point he kind of had no choice, but he was completely aware of what he was doing.
I think it's more just like an instinct thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of Bert and Bertold and the whole situation, the mom situation, I know my feelings on it. What about you guys? What do you guys think of that one? With
What do you mean?
Aaron saving Bertold, or it wasn't Bertold's time to die, and he led the Titan to his mom.
I do not like the way that was done at all. That should have had like 10 pages to it, but the fact that it was brushed over in just one, like you can't watch episode 1 the same way anymore. And it happened, but why? And I think it would have made more sense if it was maybe Ymir that did that, but the fact that it was Eren and we didn't really understand why is a bit frustrating. Like, I get the idea behind it. It's like Eren had to set these events in motion to like reach this point, but it's the way that it's phrased, it's suggesting that Eren can change more things in the past. But the people get the Attack Titan power mixed up a bit, because all the Attack Titan can do is see the memories of his future inheritors. And what happens in 121 when Eren manipulates Grisha is simply seeing the memories of future Eren manipulating him. So it's not like Eren is changing the past or anything. He's just allowing things to happen. But with the founding Titan powers, he's saying that the past, present, and the future all exist at the exact same time, right? Yeah. So he's saying, oh, I had no choice but to send Dinah towards my mom, then why couldn't he change other events in the past, if that makes sense?
Yeah.
It just really needed a bit more elaboration.
I think that's the biggest problem of adding these time paradoxes into series like this. And it's not just AOT that's done it. I mean, you know, many more popular franchises, Endgame, Avengers Endgame that is, and whatnot have done it. But this is the biggest problem. I had this problem since Grisha, and then this just being glossed over. I was like, how has he done both his mom and dad so dirty like this? Like, he's just done it like, you know what? Sort it.
Well, damn, Zeke actually was the better son, dude.
People say Ymir is the one who sent that Titan in his mom, but in the manga pen it literally says it was him, right? Yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah.
Wait, let me see what it says.
Yeah, I think the way he phrased it was just like...
okay, this is what he said.
Yeah.
That day, that time, it wasn't Bertolt's time to die. The one who let him go and made her go that way was... And yeah, so basically it was Eren. Like, he said it was him that made her go that way.
Yeah,
what else could Eren have changed then? If he could affect that, and he can affect... You know, even if we assume only the royal blood titans he can affect, that's still at least one full titan outside the walls that won't be eaten by other titans, even when you're controlling it, because it didn't seem like she had any resistance from other titans. At what point could you have just done anything else with that? What is Paz? Is it the devil's domain that Ymir is kind of, like, somehow ruling over? Is it her domain? What happens if Ymir just decides to fuck off? Does Paz go away?
Yeah, because I'm pretty certain in 137 it suggests that Ymir was the one that created the paths because she wanted to, like, have a connection with people. That's kind of what happened.
If she got her powers from, like, the devil, right? That's still what it is, just the devil, no other real explanation besides that?
We don't know. We just know that's a centipede thing.
I'm still confused on what the hell Paz even is at the end of the day. Like, if she created it, but then the power isn't really hers.
Yeah, well, I think the issue stems from the fact that we don't know what that centipede thing is or whatever. But I don't necessarily think we needed to know that. But the issue comes from the fact of how things ended in 139.
Yeah, I think my issue with Paz is because they introduced the concept of like a heaven type thing after Hanji'S death, and it really didn't go anywhere. Like, I guess it was kind of used for the Titan shifters to come back in their Titan forms, but that could have just been done without heaven. It could have just been like, hey, it's a hollow husks of the real Titans, because nothing else was really done with it. And then heaven was the only real use it was given was for happy ending. But that's implying that the souls of every Eldian is in the heaven, so she can like control that, which I find weird.
Somebody in chat is saying there was never a devil, it was all BS. Her power came from that centipede. Which, what even was that centipede even a hatch?
Isn't that just kind of also
didn't that just come for like one chapter and then just yeet itself away for
well,
like a split second?
We first see it in 122, and then well, they kind of elaborate a bit on it, and it's, I guess that's the true source of the founding Titan, whatever the true form.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a Black Zetsu type thing that had even less explanation than Black Zetsu.
man.
I guess.
Ah, that's sad.
Well, to be honest, again, at the time it wasn't something that I think needed explaining, and I like the concept that Ymir was the one that manifested the paths, and clearly she has godlike powers, but there's just one thing that I always liked about it is how he, Isayama, he used the paths for like these massive emotional payoff moments that were like the peaks of the series, but then later on he just kind of used it to do whatever. Like in 137 he brought the previous Titan shifters back to life. Well, I guess it's implied that Zeke and Armin did, and then obviously they helped the Alliance win. And then in 138, we see Eren turn into like a colossal Titan. There's just like in the final stretch, a lot of things like that happened without not really having an explanation, and that's what sucked.
Do you think the original ending would have just been a more everyone's dead type thing? He actually completes a genocide, and then
well, he said that he wanted to replicate the Mist, or he wanted to have like a similar feeling to it. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
Yeah,
I
that
think
ending is awful. It's so sad.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
It's awful in like a sad sense, but I think it would have been a really good ending story-wise for AO2.
Yeah,
But
again, it depends on the execution at the end of the day, but my feeling is that it was either Eren destroys everyone in the outside world, and then he goes back to Paradise, and they all kill each other, or Eren, what do you call it? Eren destroys Paradise, destroys the outside world, and when he goes back to Paradise, everyone's dead. That's kind of the things that I was thinking.
So here's the
Kinda
thing.
made it worse than everyone.
Someone kind of touched on the chat. So you know how the anime Isayama gets some change certain things and stuff like that. Do you think he might possibly change the ending in the anime, or you think he just keep it the exact same?
I think the plot entirely depends on the reception that he sees, to be honest, because I think this ending is catered to the wider audience, so I think most people are going to like it. But he could, like, before the volume release, he might still go over it and make a few changes, and there's still quite a bit of time between now and the end of the anime, so maybe he might request some changes. I mean, I hope he does.
I think the biggest
don't know.
the biggest thing that he could do with is, I've seen in like especially recently, I think Demon Slayer is the perfect example, where its latest volume release, it got like an additional like 20 to 30 pages of extra content in the final 2 chapters.
Oh, that's
If he
nice.
can,
Okay.
so there's a little bit more depth into like what's happening, what happened at the end, and just giving an idea on where the characters are. If we can get something similar, I think that would be fantastic, so that he knows that he gets the extra chapter or 2, quote unquote, that we kind of have been saying like might have been better to explaining everything, because like I said, it's not like it's a horrible ending. It's just that there's a lot of missing details that just need clarifying, because it just feels like a lot of it was just skimmed over, and it's up to the interpretation of the reader, which can go either way. Some people can get a lot of stuff from it, and a lot of people will get other stuff from it, which may not be the same like feelings regarding it, right? So if he can get another couple of pages, and maybe the end of the anime also maybe gets a bit more to it while maintaining the same ending, I think that still will be fine, in my opinion. I think
one thing that, like, I actually think this chapter presented a lot of interesting concepts, and you can have the same story beats that this chapter had, but I think they just need like different build up, and they just everything is just very vague, and it needs to be fleshed out a lot more for it to like make sense, because the way that this ending seems to me is that it had a completely different build up to what we got, if that makes sense. So what the feeling that I get is that the build up all the way to like the start of the rumbling was from his original ending, and then everything after was from his new ending. And you can see where that issue stems from, because because the ending that we got was completely different in tone from the original one, and because the build-up was for a completely different ending, like, it's going to create those inconsistencies.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it sucks, man. I mean, there isn't anything that we can do about it. Like, just don't harass the editor or whatever.
Oh yeah. Or no, don't harass Isayama or the editors. I mean, we still have to appreciate the fact that we got a good series overall. Like, the ending does not make it a 3 out or 2 out of 10 series, right? It's still a strong 7.5, 7, 8, whatever you like to place it between that range. Series. I still really enjoyed the series overall. It's at the end will obviously have a heavy negative impression.
Yeah, man.
But,
what really hurts the most is that this ending hurt the legacy of the series and Eren. Because I'm seeing so many people that follow the series since 2013. Like, say, oh, I don't even know what to rate Attack on Titan anymore. I don't know how to rate Eren anymore. And it sucks to see that, because I've spoken to several people and they know, even though some of the previous chapters were getting a bunch of shit, they still wanted to love the series and they still wanted to find the good in the chapters that they were given. And, despite having some issues with this arc, I still think that there was a lot of positives here. But this chapter for me just kind of undoes that.
Yeah, I really want to see what the Japanese think about it, because Isayama's probably going to be able to see more so the Japanese readers' perspective, right? So I want to know I do wonder how the Japanese feel about it, because I haven't seen anything regarding the Japanese. So if somebody in chat might know how they feel, let us know. Or in the comments as well for the video as well, if they have any ideas, because I have no idea. But yeah.
Someone said after he sees the feedback from chapter 139, you guys think he'll request his original ending for the anime? Probably not, but I still think that he can change a few things about the last stretch.
I think he could release an extra chapter, the I don't know, whatever you title it, where he gives us maybe a brutal original ending, or even whatever his original ending was that didn't end
maybe this. An OVA or something, maybe, or something along those lines. I just think that as long as he can get a bit more to add on to it, is the biggest thing I can hope for. Is just give him some more details to write on and give to the animators and whatever, because that's the biggest thing. I think this just needs more fleshing out. It's
sorry, go on.
It's apparently half and half in Japan.
I don't think that's true. Wait, the rumbling was always going to be CGI, by the way. There isn't a studio in Japan that wasn't going to make a CGI.
There's physically no way they do that.
Yeah.
Unless they do unless they showed the colossal titles for 2 frames and that's it. Also, speaking of which, do you think they're gonna censor the shit out of that in anime? Because there's literally people holding their babies in there getting stomped on it.
No, I don't think it'll be censored. I think they'll put a disclaimer for it. I think it'll be kind of it'll be like how Goblin Slayer had to do their first episode disclaimer after everybody's issues with what happened in it. I think it'll be something similar where they'll just have to put a disclaimer for that episode.
Probably that would make sense.
I don't know. I think in Japan most people do like it, but I've seen some people say that the Korean fan base, for example, hates it.
Gotcha.
So, I guess it depends on where you are.
Yeah, it's gonna be very interesting to see what happens at the end. 1 second, I noticed something that I wanted to talk about. Oh yeah, no, the rumbling CGI. I think I don't think Mappa are fine with doing CGI. They're gonna do it.
They're good at it. So
they're actually good at it. Wit Studio. I mean, Troko and I had this discussion about Wit, and we talked about the whole factor that Wit have been prone to not using CGI. Had it been Wit, probably we would have seen maybe the rumbling be a bit more of the hand-drawn stuff rather than CGI. But it would have been practically impossible to do CGI. No CGI for the rumbling at all. Yeah, there's no way they could have done that, I think.
Yeah. Well, it's gonna be so weird to have what's for me the best stretch in Attack on Titan, and then this stuff at the end. It's gonna be so jarring for me.
Yeah, because arguably the Morality and War for Paradise arc are so good, right? it's
Like, I even like, you know, even before this chapter, I thought that okay, you know, I think the anime is gonna actually elevate quite a few of the chapters that were a bit weak at its arc, you know, through voice acting and just the overall visuals. But now I'm not too sure, to be honest.
I see people in chat talk about this, but I think Gabby's like one of the most overhated characters in the series.
Oh, definitely, 100%.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
bro, say what you will about Gabby, but her character was great from start to finish.
I mean, Gabby was basically set off to be Eren 2.0 kind of. Low-key,
Yeah,
though.
but her
So,
character
yeah.
arc makes sense, and
Yeah.
like there's nothing that compromises her.
Yeah.
I think she's
Gabby
extremely
go, Gabby
overrated.
go.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, I can see why. Like, even I hated her, especially after the whole Sasha situation.
Most people hate her just because she killed Sasha.
Yeah. But I mean, it's just more so like I can see why. I don't hate her. I mean, I disliked her after that point, but it's more so like I understood her character as well, which was the most important thing. Like, you can dislike a character but still appreciate what they've become, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Gabby and Falco is what Eren and Mikasa would have been. Yeah, pretty
So
much.
I guess it
Uh,
seems like
Man.
we're pretty much done talking about the ending. So I mean, we can just talk
I mean,
about
we can-
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah,
And just
generally, I
redirect the
suppose.
chat. Yeah.
Yeah, well, to be honest, man, look, there is so much that I could say about the ending, but because I'm on stream, I can't like put my thoughts together as I go, probably.
Yeah.
But like, there's so many like people I've spoken to, and like every time I look at a certain aspect of this chapter, and then like compare it to something that Isayama said before, there's just so many contradictions, and like I see what he's going for, but in the process of trying to establish these concepts in the last chapter,
Mhm.
it just falls very short. And bro, I really don't like how he handled the whole race oppression stuff.
Yeah.
That's like, you know, when as an author and when you're tackling such serious and sensitive topics, it has to be near perfect, if not perfect. So
Mhm.
the fact that he brushed over it in like what 12 pages, you know, bro, you spent multiple chapters before going in depth into these topics. So the fact that you treated it so in such a shitty way,
Mhm.
like, just blows my mind. Like, as an author, you have a responsibility to take care of these topics in a well done manner.
Yeah.
You have a responsibility to the reader to convey a message about these things, and I don't even know what message he was going for, bro. Because like Eren was basically thanking Eren for becoming a mass murderer. It's like,
Oh my
Isayama,
god.
what Isayama, what
I-
he's saying?
That I swear, bro. The fact that I saw that, like Armin just saying, "Thank you for becoming a mass murderer for our sakes." It's like, bro.
Yeah, that's so
I can't
funny.
believe that line, bro. What is
I
that?
was like, huh?
Fake fan lines, and it's like, oh, that's sad.
that was just like, bro. What, you
That
gotta
even
phrase
goes
that a
into
bit better, bro.
Armin's character as well.
Yeah, it is his manga. He can do what he wants, but I still think that when you're handling such sensitive subjects, like, you have a responsibility as an author to handle those subjects in a way that is convincing and that sends a certain message.
I mean, that's the whole point. That's why he changed the ending as well, was because he knew like he had fans to please, quote unquote, right? And the fact that he changed the ending, but he didn't do the same for these themes is just a bit odd.
Yeah, well, like, people don't realize like how important this is. Like, these are like, some of these issues like are real world issues, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
so
especially in this day and age where people, say,
yeah,
like,
where there's so much repression and all that stuff,
Mhm.
and you know, when you're telling a story, you do have a responsibility to the reader to, at the very least, handle these subjects with care. But and he did for the longest time. He absolutely did, in my opinion. So the fact that in this chapter he just basically glossed over it, and he somewhat handled the issue in such a, I guess, just such a naive way. It just rubs me the wrong way.
The funniest thing I have to admit, I just remembered and I just realized, technically, Mikasa literally just carried Eren's head across the ocean from like what is effectively Madagascar to North Africa. Effectively.
Yeah, bro, how did she move back to Paradise?
How did she? I'm so
Wait.
baffled as to how did she just carry his head around just like.
I didn't even
across
think
the
about
ocean.
that.
I was just like, wait a second. I was just thinking about the map, and I was just like, wait a second, huh?
Man, those Ackerman
How do-
powers
wait.
surely are crazy, huh?
Wait,
Well-
Josh, I'm gonna send you a panel and like put it on screen.
Alright.
Because it plays into what I was talking about. Okay. So basically, the message here is that all of them like are special because, like, even with the Titan powers, you know, like all of them exist because someone meant for them to exist. The Titan powers doesn't change that. So the fact that the Titan powers being removed is what makes it easier for them to achieve peace. Like, kind of contradicts the idea that their powers are a good thing and makes them special and valid. It kind of sends the message that, oh, okay, with the powers, well, wait, 139 basically says that, okay, now that you don't have the powers, you are valid. That's kind of what I think it's suggesting, you know?
Yeah.
Like the curse, the Titan curse is what, getting rid of that is what's gonna make things so much easier to sort out, when it wasn't really about that, you know? There was a lot more politics behind that.
Yep. The construction workers didn't appreciate that.
Do y'all think that they miss having the Titan powers?
Considering they're still negotiating, probably would have been like just should have just had Titan powers and just screwed them over. 80%
Like, I'd be
of
so
them.
like-
Aaron just made it so much worse for them. You took away their defenses, you took away their offenses. You're 150 quadrillion years behind in technology, basically. You don't even have a car, dude. You have one cool train and that's it. And now the rest of the world just wants to kill you. Like, nice
Like,
job,
imagine living your whole life like, wow, I could transform this cool Titan, then all of a sudden you just can't do it anymore for the rest of your life. That would suck.
Yeah, it's again. It's just
Imagine
weird
getting in a
because,
fist fight, you like, you know what? You just gotta bite your hand so you just take care of it real quick, and then you're just like, oh,
yeah.
How would you guys have changed the ending, though?
At this point, I would not have even minded the time loop ending. Because at least, like,
Oh yeah, that would have been better. And
yeah, at least there's some type of, like, foreshadow, like, way in the beginning. That could have been one of those Izayama goat moments. Just because, like, the whole sleeping scene, like, way back at the beginning.
yeah, like, when did your hair get so short? Like,
Yeah.
what did that actually lead to? That
like,
actually led to, like, nothing.
Because, like, also, like, the very last
Really?
couple of panels, like, Mikasa has the super long hair. So it could have been pretty cool to have. It's like, it's just a time loop or something. Like, I know it wouldn't have been the best ending, but I would have preferred that.
I love how somebody in chat mentioned this, and I mentioned it to Troko as well. The Warhammer Titan came for one part, and it was important for one moment, and then it was just useless after that. That just like they gassed it up so much, and then nothing happened with the Warhammer.
Yeah, the Warhammer was always a weird Titan because it was never actually important up until the the declaration of war, and even then it was defeated in like a minute. And then after that, we all expected like, oh, Eren could be, you know, he's God now, so he could have extended range with the Warhammer Titan. He could actually be back on the island while he's controlling the Titan, all that stuff. And it was never really used to its full capabilities. Yeah, aside from like one. That poor Titan got shafted out of any like real relevance.
Yeah, which sucks because that's probably my favorite Titan design.
Yeah.
I mean, if we want to talk about being shafted out of being like useful, I mean, the Colossal Titan, the big bad Titan himself,
Yeah, he didn't really
actually
get much
do a
use.
ton throughout the entire series.
Bro, like, everyone knows that Attack on Titan has been under fire for so long for, like, being Nazi propaganda or whatever.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So the fact that in this chapter, he's thanking Eren for being a mass murderer,
Oh god.
and then
Oh no.
and then he's basically saying, "Oh, we're not Titans anymore. Like, we can get along." It's just, I love that. Maybe they
Like
were
that
right,
goes
man.
that scene killed Eren and Armin's character because Armin was always like he wanted to talk to Bertolt before just straight up shooting with an anti-Titan cannon. Like he was like, before we shoot him point blank with a thunder spear, which is probably what we should do. I want to talk to him first. He's always been about like actual resolutions. But then he's like, oh yo, thanks for like killing 80% of the world. Like that's
Yeah.
not Armin's character.
Yeah, he didn't solve or oppression, but what I didn't like was how he was basically saying that if you get rid of what makes you different, that's how you solve it, or at least make it easier to solve it.
And even if they got rid of the Titan powers, they made the problem worse because even if they can't do it now, they don't care. 80% of the world is gone because of one of you. Doesn't matter if you can turn into a Titan now. People aren't going to care.
Yeah.
I think it would have been better if like I guess they like, I'm just trying to think of how this could have gone, and I think them trying to get along despite having the powers would have been a better route to go down, maybe.
I think
Because at least that way you aren't saying, oh, okay, if you get rid of what makes you, like, if you get rid of a part of you, if you get rid of something that you were born with, like, that's going to make it easier to sort out the issues.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense.
Alex, did you ever read the pilot chapter for AOT? I assume you did, right? Where they were in like the forest and you had kind of like the concept Aaron and pretty much basically concept Gabby.
Oh yeah, I read that.
Yeah, I think that would have been a much better ending than what we got. Like, if he wanted to loop back to that, where all the Titans that were turned into Titan in 138 didn't actually change out of it, and then the outside world had to build, like, scuffed Titan, like, anti-Titan villages in the remainder of the world, and then, you know, Gabby and Falco could have been in that village, and then, you know, they didn't realize, like, Falco was a Titan ship. If you could somehow, you know, leave it, I think it would have been a better ending if, like, the outside world had to kind of deal with what the walls dealt with. Because of all the new pure Titans running around out there type thing.
Yeah, I'll get it. That could have been
Because
interesting.
that pilot chapter was always really interesting to me to see where it could have gone. And I mean, we did get a lot of it in, you know, concept Aaron and Gabby both.
Yeah.
I mean, made it in, but
We were talking about this before, I think, while you were unfortunately muted or something. What would you have done alternatively for an ending?
I would have. I think this path makes sense. I think Eren inevitably, you know, sacrificing himself makes sense, but there needs to be some sort of shift. And I'm actually kind of working on something right now, and I'm probably going to post it on Twitter at some point, about how I think he should have handled this whilst keeping the same ending. And there's like, to me, there's so many things that he could have done. For example, in this chapter, a really cool concept that was brought up was Eren, like when Eren is in the founding Titan, he's connected to the past, present, and future all at once. And I had a thought, and I was like, okay, after he gained the full power of the founder, we could have had a massive dig into Eren's mind, and him. You know, we saw in 131 how he was crying because he's going to kill, you know, that kid eventually.
Yeah.
But like, if you know, when he's the founding Titan, he's connected to all the subjects of Ymir, and I think one thing that could have been really interesting. What's really interesting is what could have been interesting is him like genuinely feeling the pain and the thoughts of everyone as being killed. You know what I mean? Because he said, you see what I'm saying? Like that could have fucked with his mind even more, and like experiencing like the things that the people he's killing are experiencing, could have led to some more interesting development and potentially changing his mind.
Yeah, like
you know what I mean?
I personally think like the ending, like as an ending, overall it could have been good. I just feel like we needed more stuff explained and stuff just built on. Like I said like 20 times, like he had a couple more chapters, the ending would have been fine. I just feel like because it is kind of just like there's just so much stuff that just wasn't dealt with that should have been dealt with. Like
okay, yes, go ahead. Sorry, finish.
It's like I don't really have a problem with like the ending itself, like the peaceful ending. So I just have a problem with how we got there, type thing, pretty much. And just like there's just so much left unanswered.
Okay, somebody said who gave him that responsibility to handle a topic that way. When you introduce topics like that, he literally gave it to himself. That's what I was gonna come on to. Like when you introduce topics like that and whatnot, you have a certain way because people will interpret it in a certain way as well, right?
Yeah, no one is saying that we want him to do it a certain way. We're just saying he should treat it with respect and care.
that's the main thing that needs to be done, because at the end of the day, if you're introducing topics, you have to make sure you're handling it well, because people will perceive it in one way, and if you don't handle it well, the people who perceive it that way will take it incorrectly, right? Or
Yeah.
take it wrongly, or not appreciate it, or just see you as throwing it away to the side. That's the biggest thing. And especially when you have a popular franchise such as this, and this goes for any franchise or show or anything, and it's the world we live in right now, unfortunately. But fortunately or unfortunately, depending on your perspective, I should say, authors and the creators of a series or anything have a responsibility and a role to handle it with care, at least, at minimum.
Yeah, it's like if you're not going to really do anything with it, you probably just shouldn't touch on it at all. It's that type of deal. But yes, like I said, I don't really have a problem with the ending. It's just the issues that it came up with, which is kind of like I want to say he was rushed with it. Like for some reason, I feel like he was very rushed with it. I feel like someone on the inside was like, "Yo, you got to end it now," type deal.
I think he might have rushed himself though. Like
Yeah,
he
probably
wanted
was
to
just
get ending like too late, and it just created an issue where he was rushing himself because he's like, "Oh, well."
And also saw someone said, "What peaceful ending?" Question marks. Like, let's be fair. This is probably as peaceful as the ending could ever have been, because like there's just so much happening.
Yeah, there was no way. There was no way they could have done a happier ending without it being probably worse to the series, arguably. That's why we're saying, like, it's definitely not the worst thing out there. Like, it's still a okay ending. It's just it needed a lot more to it than what we got.
Like I said, there's a couple more chapters. I think you wrapped it up properly.
I think minimum at least one or two more, and we would have been happier, to be honest.
Yeah.
Two more would have been like perfect. I think 141 would have been great.
Because like
I think the entire Armin and Eren convoy should have been one chapter.
Yes, I think if they'd fleshed that out a lot more, given a little bit more to both of them, it would have been better, because it just felt like, there was it was just rushed, and we only got like a little bit of them, which wasn't their best like character moments, arguably, as well.
Because like I said, like the ending itself, like the concept of the ending isn't bad. It's just the execution, I guess you say. Kind of like Dragon Ball GT. It's like the execution just wasn't as good as it should have been.
I think there's really not. I mean, I'll still, like I said, I'll still give the whole series a 7.5. The ending itself is a 6, but that's just my opinion.
What if they make the anime is the true ending just to hype anime watchers?
Man, I'm just thinking about how back in Trost, Armin. You remember how the first time Eren turned into a Titan, and then that guy, like, they were scared of him, and they were like trying to like shoot him with the cannons. Yeah, I was just remembering how Armin gave like an extremely convincing speech, and like they were still scared, and they were about to shoot him down, and then I think about this chapter, and the commander or Muller or Secretary Muller, who has been brainwashed most of his life, just saw a bunch of Eldians turn into Titans, and Armin makes an even less convincing speech, and he lowers his guns. Like, if that was realistic, I'm led to believe that he would have shot them.
Oh yeah, the whole like they turn to Titans just to like fake us out and be like, "Oh no, actually they're back now. Don't worry, nothing bad happened."
Man.
They also didn't shoot him. Don't question it.
Okay, Charco, you didn't get to really talk about what you want for your ending, because we talked about at one point, we're like, when Gabby shot Eren, that could have been like
that. I think could have been if he was gonna kill Eren anyways. I think that it could have been the ending right there. Is Gabby shot Eren, and then the world had to come to a solution, like almost without Titans or something along the line. You'd still have like the whole Ymir stuff you have to deal with, but I don't know. Again, having like Mikasa just kind of thrown in there is like, you're the most important character in the series now, because it just felt weird.
Yeah, they did squash it before. Sorry to interrupt you. They did squash it before, but then they literally saw them turn into Titans again. So I think that fear would have been there, but it's fine.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Gabby killing Eren could have been a great ending. Because again, a lot of the rumbling, I question a lot of it. A lot of things were added for a seemingly no reason. Again, Heaven was weird to me. I don't understand why that was added if the real only thing was 4 was to just give a happy ending with like Levi and Connie and Jean.
Oh man, I'm actually so mad about that fake out because I think Jean and Connie got pretty decent deaths.
Yeah, like all the like Attack on Titan season 1. Remember when all the cadet scouts were like, "Yeah, it's our first mission," and all 7 of them got massacred within 30 seconds, right?
Yeah.
And that's a permadeath thing. Like, that subjected our expectations of power friendship. Like, yeah, like we're friends. We can do this, and they'll die. And then you go to here now, and it's like, yeah, we're all friends. We did that in an even less realistic situation. We managed to do that.
Oh no, what's really cringe to me is how like it was their reactions after being turned like back into after the curse is gone. They're like all thanking Eren and after he just like committed genocide. And it's like, oh bro, this is so bad.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are kind of forgetting that. Yeah, Eren's an emotional kid, but he did also commit genocide. 80% of the entire world is gone.
There's a certain someone else that if you were to say they're emotional, people will just still see them as evil. But with Eren, it's like, oh yeah, he's allowed to be emotional.
Right. In one of the translations, Reiner was literally like, Eren, what a man you are.
I saw that one.
I was like, bro, are you f***ing kidding me? And bro, you know Peak? Like, I swear to God, like a few chapters ago, she was like, oh, Eren was never my friend, by the way. And she was like, oh, perish nightmare. And then in this chapter, she's like, oh, I wish I could have talked to him. Like, bro, make your mind up.
It doesn't really help that they're kind of the ending feels a bit too romanticized as well as is a problem I'm also having as well, considering romance has never been the strongest point or the selling point of the series, like as the thing of like, oh, that's the thing that's gonna solve everything, right? Because while okay, I don't mind that it is a factor. The fact that it was the factor is a problem in my opinion.
Yeah, it broke the curse, and like I was saying, it broke the curse, and them getting rid of the ability to turn into Titans made it easier to like solve the issues.
Yeah.
Look at Armin there. No. Just look at what he says here. Just look at what he says here, bro. And
this chapter's like, thank you.
And then compare it to what he says in 139, bro. Wait, can you get it? Wait, let me get the page up and you can put it side by side. Guys, I just can't take this seriously, bro. Like, are you kidding me? Oh my god. Like, bro, Armin, okay, the thing is, John even says that the reason Eren is doing this is for us. And then Armin says, oh no, this is going too far. But then in this chapter, he finds out yet again that he was doing it for them. But look, his reaction is completely different. Like, what the
How long does air go to waste? Like it was like, you kind of messed up, but it's fine. We can work with it.
Oh my god, it's just so bad. It's so bad because it like they in 124 he's literally like, oh, Eren is doing this for us, and in 139, oh, you did this for us. You became a mass murderer for us. I can't take it seriously, bro.
They actually ruined both their characters at once.
I mean, yeah, no, they definitely tried doing the. Isayama basically looked at Code Geass and was like, yeah, let me try and do that, but didn't really do it as well.
No, he tried to humanize Eren a bit more. That's what he tried to do. But it's just,
yeah.
Oh, he did it in such a poor way.
That's also another thing was the humanization for Eren.
But the thing that's insane to me is Armin's reaction, because Jean says to Armin, what does he say? Let me get the thing up. I never imagined he'd plan to slaughter everyone outside the walls. But if they all disappear, so will all the hatred. All the enemies that have ever threatened our existence, flattened, blank, empty, is all that will be left. What the people on the other side of the sea feared most came true, and it's because they labeled us as devils and tried to kill us all. So this is just something those outsiders brought upon themselves. There was nothing we could have done, right? So he talks about he talks about Eren's thought process. He says, okay, Eren's doing this for us because the people on the outside just saw us as devils. And then Armin says, this is going too far. A massacre on a scale that's never been seen before. And then we see in this chapter, Eren's like, yeah, I destroyed the world for you guys. you know, to give you guys hope or whatever. And then
Right.
Armin's like, oh, thank you. Oh, I saw someone say, oh, this is like, people shouldn't have had such high expectations for the ending and whatever. Bro, Isayama was delivering like peak chapters after peak chapter for like what, 4, 5, 6 years, maybe even longer than that. So of course people had high expectation. Like we had absolutely no reason to doubt him. There was like everything about Attack on Titan was cohesive. It made sense. Like everything just added up perfectly. So when it's like I was saying, we literally had like reason to doubt him. So seeing how like contrived and just how out of nowhere some things appeared, it hurts.
Like me and Churko, like even at, like, sorry to cut you off, but like even at like 137, it's like okay, it's Isayama. We have hope. Then 138 comes out, I was like, oh no, there's no way he wraps this up in the next chapter. And then, long and behold.
You know what? Because man, I was thinking about 138, and I was originally conflicted on it, and then I read a really interesting interpretation of the chapter. I was like, oh, I think this might be one of the better chapters in the series. But then this one came out, and it just kind of ruined it for me. And I've been saying this the entire time. This path, like I think it could have made sense, but he just didn't execute it right, unfortunately.
Oh man.
So like I know there's so many people, like I don't think you should be attacking people because they like or didn't like the ending and you did the opposite.
Definitely not. Don't do
Yeah,
that.
I feel like we all read the story. Like we have, like I invest 8 years into it. Everyone here has invested 8 years into it. We're all like entitled to our like opinion on it, right? I don't think it's right to just attack someone because they don't agree with you.
Oh man, it's so frustrating because I've seen so many people be like, "Oh, you just didn't understand it. Just didn't fit your head canon. You didn't understand Eren and blah blah blah." And it's like
My favorite is
bro,
the classic. You
the
just
reason
don't know
why
how to read.
Yeah, bro. The reason why we're so mad is because we did understand it.
Yeah, like I feel bad like when people say, "Oh, you just didn't understand," and it's like, no, I'm pretty sure you didn't, because you are by far the most in-depth person I've ever met with Attack on Titan. So
Yeah,
it's
like you make like 20 tweet threads every chapter.
Like every time I'm just waiting for your reactions on Twitter. Like, oh, there we go. And then when I saw that you agreed with like the character assassination stuff, I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure we're right about this, because you would be the one to understand the character more than 99% of the people.
Yeah, and I've read some threads, and they're like, "Oh, I just want people to like I want people to understand Eren better," and I'm like, "Well, the thing is, like, what you're saying makes sense, but the things in the chapter don't back what you're saying, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of like the people trying to make sense of Eren in this chapter did the work for Isayama, if you get what I'm saying. They're like, they filled in the gaps that Isayama should have filled in himself.
Yeah.
Was Eren doing all this because he saw that it was the future? Yeah, he did. He said that in the chapter. He did all of this because that's what he saw in the future. But there's so much in the previous chapters that contradicts this. So it's whatever.
My problem is he says he can see the future, so he knows what would happen, and then his reasoning for doing it was, I don't know, I just kind of did. So it was never really.
I don't know, I just did it.
We didn't have Ymir. Like, if Ymir had actually controlled him to get to this end or something, then fine. But all we know is Eren just chose to do this because, yeah, he saw the future. Again, you cannot defend that this is a good end, like for the Eldians, because they have no offense, they have no defense, they have one train. The rest of the world hates them. It's not good for them. They've been in negotiations for 3 years. It's not a good end. Eren would have seen this, and he still went ahead with it without being forced. No destiny type anything like that.
Man was like, "Yeah, I'm done here. You guys can continue. I'm out of here. Peace."
I had my fun.
Yeah, y'all handle this stuff, not me.
Or something, or the centipede. I don't know. Centipede thing. He decided to show Eren a false future, and then he asked, "Well, how did this fail? You showed me that if I had done this, it would have succeeded, and it would have given everyone, a good world." And then the centipede was like, "No, I just wanted to create unbalance in the world. There's too much, or something. I don't know. Whatever explanation." But Eren wasn't forced to do anything, and he just made it worse. It just made Eren out to be a pure villain, rather than like an anti-hero or tragic hero. He's just a pure villain in all of this. Like, he didn't do anything that helped the island people. He just made them more hated, killed 80% of the population because he wanted to.
Yeah, someone said it in chat. The ending was rushed. I feel like that's just the general consensus. Like, I feel like he could have nailed this if he had like a couple more chapters, right? Like, I know I keep saying it, but I really feel like that's the thing.
You know, he keeps saying in this chapter he said that he kept moving forward for this result. And if you go back to chapter 90 at the ocean, he's saying, if we kill all our enemies out there, will we finally be free? He's sort of proposing this question, but he already knows what's going to happen once he does all of this, so it just confuses me even more.
Yeah, it 100% is a changed ending. The original ending had to have been something like everyone actually died, and then Eren just took all the burden of the sins committed, and he became Anime Jesus 3.0 type thing.
In a way, now with the knowledge from this chapter, it kind of feels like Eren was led by destiny/fate instead of his own desires and his own.
But nothing was ever shown for that destiny.
Yeah, exactly.
But is what confuses me, because
what
all we know is he doesn't.
Choco.
What made Eren a very captivating character to me, especially in the time skip, is how he saw these memories of the future, and especially in 131, he knows that he's going to kill these people, and when he sees that kid that he ends up saving, he's like, oh, why would I even save this kid? I'm going to end up killing him anyway. And he ends up saving him because that's who he is as a person. And what made that aspect interesting is that everything is going to go the way that he saw in his future memories because of who he is. He is a slave to his own self and who he is as a person. And I think making it so that it was just all destiny and fate or whatever gets rid of the kind of makes him a bit hollow and reduces the complexity of his character. Does anyone have anything to add to that?
No, you nailed it.
The ending made his character so much less than it should have been. His character.
To me, it just makes his character very hollow. He was a slave for destiny. He was a slave for the future that was set out in front of him, but the difference for me is that he was a slave to the destiny that he set out for himself, not someone else's plan, I guess. If you get what I'm saying, there's a fine line there.
Yeah, I'd always thought that the reason he was trying to push everyone away is because he had a Doctor Strange thing where he saw many different potential futures, and he saw that if he had gone down the path of I don't want to kill everyone, or if I went with the plan but I didn't push my friends away, I would have been talked down. And that's why he had, the table scene where he pushed everyone away. I need to do this on my own. I hate all of you. I thought it was all a ploy to make them hate him, to get their hatred so that they tried to stop him or something.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Or
and
try to change the future, but he ended up not being able to. He was locked into the destiny no matter what. If he didn't do this, the outside world would have killed everyone. But he didn't want either one to happen, so he had to try to do anything to change his future. But he was never locked into anything, or it was never said he was locked into anything.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking now about all the times that we saw his attempts to find alternatives to the rumbling, and I think it gets rid of that nuance where he feels like it's something that he has to do because there's no other choice. This is that's just the cruelty of the world. But now it's kind of when you take into account this chapter, he's basically saying, this is how. This is the ending I've been moving forward to the entire time, and I feel like in a way it kind of it makes me wonder why he was questioning these alternatives anyway. According to 139, he knows the path that he's going to go down will make him the bad guy, and it will make, I guess, Armin and the others look like good guys, and that'll make things easier for Paradise overall. I mean, that's what the final chapter is trying to say, right? And in 139, or not 139, but before that, during War for Paradise, we saw constantly how he was struggling to find another solution. Is there another way? And it just feels like his character was retconned, even if that wasn't what Isayama intended. I think it would have been much more convincing if Eren's plan the entire time was in fact to destroy the entire world, but at some point he changed his mind because of something. Like he saw a different path at some point.
But yeah, I think we can wrap up. Any last words from yourself, Iggy or Trucko?
I mean, we pretty much covered everything that I could think of.
I still think Levi, Hanji, and Flock, that those all alone are probably like my lowest points on top of the ending, which is why I have 6.5.
Yeah, I think Levi.
Flock still.
Levi is my biggest
Bro,
issue.
come on, guys, Connie is right there. Come on,
Okay, but
Connie's right there, man. Come on,
Your
beat.
Flock's death, like how Flock died. He should have just died on the our initial port, not somehow made onto the boat, and then come in through the back door. I don't get how he would have left the hangar to come around to the side door. Because I spent like an hour and a half in VC with Igna looking at the hangars, seeing how it would have made sense for the.
this man literally pulled out Photoshop to calculate Hanji's death.
And Hanji's death is fine, I guess, if you wanted to use anime to make it make sense that, oh, the extra Titan she killed was enough to get away, but she didn't really need to. But Flock just straight up got out of the boat at some point, or went to the side without anybody noticing, and then came into the side door.
Man, you know what I noticed? Like, okay, so they reached the port at night, right? And then the rumbling. I'm just wondering where the Flock spend the night.
Again, that's why I'm. If he was in the boat, they looked at the boat, they took the tarp off. He would have had to hide in a different hangar or somewhere to
Bro,
come into
you
the
are
side door.
completely correct. Holy.
No way. Flock to actually. And that is probably my lowest point of all of Attack on Titan, because everything
so
else
funny.
makes sense of. Flock, I don't know.
There goes the drill.
Literally just to shoot the boat to give a reason for Hanji to die.
Yeah, Levi is my biggest issue. That sucks because he's my third favorite character, but like he should have died. Like, come on.
You know, I get, like, I personally don't agree with the Levi stuff and like him surviving the explosion. I think it's fine, but like the best thing about this chapter by far was his conclusion.
Yeah, I'd still maintain Levi is probably the only character who came out of this like somewhat good.
I like that, but again, that's my whole problem of Heaven was introduced just to give them a happy ending. There was no other real reason for it to exist. I mean, you had the Titan Shifters come back, but that could have just been Paz creating them out of sand and like hollow husks. There's still like a lot of unanswered questions that I don't think we'll ever really get answers to, unfortunately. But if we ever do get like a what if type thing. Also, Alex, have you read that like additional manga like Before the Fall or whatever?
No, I haven't read that.
Because I just recently learned about it, and I don't imagine it's like good.
Well,
'Cause I
don't think it is.
I don't think it was written by Isayama, and it's
No.
probably contradicted heavily by everything.
The Levi one is good.
Rico made it out alive, so that's cool. What happened to her, by the way?
Oh no, what happened to Yelena?
Oh yeah, true. But like,
I
Rico,
literally
she was
no
a
idea. Right?
character, and then she just wasn't. She was more relevant in the junior high.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, leave a like, subscribe to the 5-9 channel, follow us on our Twitch so you guys can see us complain more about AOT in the coming days, probably. Or any other manga, maybe, probably. Follow the Gaming Claw on Twitter, of course, for his immaculate threads on the series, of course. But yeah, once again, appreciate you all for tuning in. We'll see you guys in the next one.
All right, peace out, dudes.
See ya.